I am absolutely going to testify. I won't even say his name. He is an evil being and is going to pay. I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
The courtroom went completely quiet when Diddy's calm look suddenly disappeared. His hands clenched into fists and his jaw tightened. Everyone in the room could feel the air grow heavy with tension. Then someone mentioned Justin Bieber's name, and that's when things took a dramatic turn. This was the moment Diddy couldn't keep it together anymore. It happened on the second day of the trial, right after he found out that Justin Bieber had openly supported Cassie. Diddy's reaction was so intense that security had to step in, and what followed left even the judge completely stunned.
Do you think the person that the you of then was on a path of self-destruction?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully, but yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and
Wow! I feel violated right now. Wow.
Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
Wow, look at your eyes. Look at what a beautiful...
Bieber turned 15, and it suddenly seemed that Hollywood was keen to almost initiate him. I think that's the right word. Like there was almost like this initiation that he needed to go through. So I want you to be now super uncomfortable and watch this video of an interaction between him and none other than Diddy. Take a listen.
Justin, you ever seen the movie For the Times of Their Lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full.
Young Justin Bieber, who was signed by Usher, involved with Scooter Braun. Now all of a sudden he's being put in the hands of Diddy, who, it is true, he became the legal guardian for Usher. You can look up all of the allegations of what Diddy did. The allegations are essentially that Diddy very much initiated Usher. As we are going through these lawsuits and Diddy is in prison, we are recognizing that everybody knew. This was an open secret about what Diddy was doing. So it just begs the question, who allowed Justin Bieber to be in the presence of this man, knowing what he was up to, allegedly up to? That seems to be very clear.
Day 2 began with a strange calmness in the courtroom. Diddy walked in with his high-priced legal team, looking confident on the surface. But if you really looked at him, his eyes told a different story. He kept looking around the room like he was expecting something, or maybe someone, to suddenly show up. The security detail wasn't normal either. Extra guards were positioned around his table, one standing right behind him, another by the aisle. It felt like someone had warned them that something unusual might happen. Then Cassie entered. The room shifted. She wore a simple black dress with a white collar. Nothing fancy, but it spoke louder than words. Her close. Friends walked beside her, forming a tight group, almost like personal guards. It was clear. Diddy had professional security, while Cassie had people who truly cared for her. The difference was hard to ignore. Meanwhile, Diddy couldn't seem to put his phone down. He kept unlocking it, scrolling quickly with his thumb, and every time he looked at the screen, his face got a little darker, his expression kept changing. His lawyer eventually reached over and took the phone out of his hand, which Diddy didn't fight. But that's when I noticed. His hand was trembling. The prosecution was acting strange, too. They were passing notes, whispering to each other, hiding their conversations behind files. One of the prosecutors kept showing her tablet to a colleague, and each time, they nodded like something big was coming, like a puzzle had just been solved. They weren't stressed. They looked ready. Diddy's main lawyer kept leaning in, trying to calm him down. He spoke softly in Diddy's ear and even placed a hand on his shoulder. But Diddy brushed him off, not once, but several times. One time, he shrugged his lawyer's hand off so hard that the guy had to steady himself on the desk. When the judge entered the room, you could read her face. On the first day, she looked professional, even a little relaxed. Today was different. She looked worried, like a teacher who knew one of her students was about to make a scene. She glanced right at Diddy and then whispered something to her clerk. The clerk nodded, picked up his phone, and walked out. That's when it became clear something big was about to unfold. Unknown to most in the room, Diddy had just seen a post on social media a few minutes before court began. It was from Justin Bieber. He had publicly shown support for Cassie, and that message hit Diddy hard. His lawyers tried to keep the phone away, but the damage was done. He'd already read it. He knew what the world now knew. The bailiff called the room to order, but the energy felt different. Everyone could sense the shift. Even the jurors picked up on it. They kept glancing at each other, unsure why the room was so tense. One woman even asked for a glass of water, and her hand was shaking when she grabbed it. Diddy sat still, but you could see the signs. His leg was bouncing under the table. A vein on his forehead started to show. He breathed heavily, staring blankly ahead. His lawyer tried handing him papers to keep him occupied, but Diddy just pushed them away without looking. It was like watching a volcano that was about to erupt. Everyone could feel it, even if they didn't know what would cause the explosion. The clock ticked loudly on the wall, marking each second until everything fell apart. Diddy's composed image, the controlled, polished look he had built for years, was about to fall to pieces in front of everyone.
Yeah. So, yeah. I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, you know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I mean, just think about how young I was and so impressionable. And you have everybody telling me how awesome I am at all times, you know? And like,
It's like taking a kid and putting a kid in a room full of nothing but sweets.
Right.
And just saying, I'll be back in 2 days.
Exactly. I just want people to understand, like, the psychology behind why I potentially could have problems in my life. So.
In time, let's talk about the fact that Combs' co-defendant in a civil case, a case, by the way, that accuses him and this co-defendant, another A-lister, of rape. This guy is once again slamming the attorney behind the case, insisting that he be sanctioned for allegedly not doing his job. We're talking, of course, about Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, once again calling out attorney Tony Busby, calling out his character, more specifically into question, claiming that the Texas attorney's filings have, quote, substantial. Now, we've talked about this before, but basically, a civil lawsuit was filed against Sean Combs on behalf of a Jane Doe who says that she was raped by Combs and another celebrity at a home after the Video Music Awards in 2000.
While the courtroom was busy with legal arguments and testimonies, something massive was unfolding online, and it caught everyone off guard. Out of nowhere, Justin Bieber posted a statement on social media that shook the entire music industry. It happened right in the middle of the trial, and the timing couldn't have been worse for Diddy. Bieber publicly expressed his support for Cassie, and that message quickly found its way into the courthouse, changing the energy instantly. What made this post so explosive was the history. Between Bieber and Diddy, they weren't just industry acquaintances. They had a long relationship. Years ago, videos of young Justin Bieber spending time at Diddy's parties were everywhere. Diddy used to refer to himself as Justin's mentor, even calling him a little brother. He often took credit for guiding Justin's career in the early days. So when Bieber publicly took Cassie's side, it felt like a personal blow, like a deeply trusted friend had just switched sides in the middle of a battle. And this wasn't some vague, polite statement. Bieber went into detail. He shared personal experiences, mentioning times when he saw Diddy treat Cassie in a way that troubled him. He said he once witnessed Diddy grabbing Cassie's arm too aggressively at an after-party back in 2015. He also recalled times when Diddy interrupted her during interviews, never letting her finish her sentences. These weren't just hearsay or rumors, they were things he claimed to have seen himself. As soon as the court broke for a short recess, the news spread like wildfire. People outside the courtroom huddled, in groups sharing their phones and showing each other the post. Court staff had to repeatedly tell people to turn their phones off before re-entering. Legal teams immediately printed screenshots to review and prepare for how this might affect the case. Even some jurors looked lost, not understanding why there was so much whispering around them. The post included a photo that added even more. Wait, it showed a younger Justin and Cassie at a music event, both smiling for the camera, but if you looked closely, there was a look in Cassie's eyes, one that seemed to say a lot more than her smile. In the caption, Bieber said he had always respected her strength and admitted he regretted not speaking. Out earlier, he even apologized, writing, "I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner." The public reaction was immediate. With over 270 million followers, Bieber's post spread across the internet in minutes. News outlets picked it up instantly. What had started as a private court case was now a massive national story, fueled by a major celebrity taking a very clear side. Court reporters were sprinting out of the room to call their editors. Laptops clicked away furiously. One journalist even mouthed, "Did you see it?" to another, across the aisle. Back inside, the noise from the hallway was starting to bleed into the room. One of the bailiffs had to step in and tell people to settle down. Others kept looking over at Diddy, trying to read his reaction. Some watched. Cassie, who stayed calm and composed, even as the energy shifted around her. What really made Bieber's statement powerful was how honest it felt. He called Cassie courageous and said he had witnessed behavior years ago that made him uncomfortable. But back then, he didn't understand how serious it was. He admitted that now, looking back. It was obvious there were signs of manipulation and control. He even said he was disappointed in himself for not recognizing it sooner. Diddy's lawyers saw the post quickly. They moved fast to prevent him from seeing it, trying to block his line of sight to a colleague's phone, whispering to others to hide their screens, and removing devices from the table. But the damage was done. Someone had already shown him the screen. When Diddy looked at the post, his face changed instantly. His eyes locked onto the image and text. They widened in shock. Everyone nearby could see the shift in his expression. He looked stunned, maybe even betrayed. At that moment, it was clear. There was no going back. The world had seen it. He had read it. And nothing could erase what Justin Bieber had said.
18 years old, and I should mention he was signed by Usher to a label that was owned jointly by both Scooter Braun and Usher, and he was considered Usher's protege. He has been described Usher as his mentor. The Bieber, Justin Bieber, is continuing the purge. He has now moved to his original mentor. So this is a very big story, and the reason why we should discuss this and we should not diminish what is happening, it's not celebrity drama. This is actually the fall of Babylon that we are witnessing. Hollywood Babylon, that is. He did an interview back in 2020 with Zane Lowe. I think this was on Apple Music. And he was speaking about another young artist that was coming up, Billie Eilish, and Eilish. And he was basically speaking about how he wanted to protect her because she was now another young person, a rising artist in the industry. And sort of out of nowhere, he became quite overcome with emotion. Take a listen.
Yeah, I definitely feel protective of her. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just kind of, let her do her thing. And if she ever needs me, I'm going to be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted.
I'm not even kidding. Watching that clip makes me emotional because he is saying so much without really saying anything. Protect Billie Eilish from what? From who?
The moment Diddy saw Justin Bieber's post, everything about him changed. It was like a switch went off in his head. First, he looked completely stunned, eyes wide open, mouth hanging in disbelief. Then came anger, his eyebrows furrowed, his nostrils flared, and his jaw tightened so much that people nearby could almost hear his teeth clench. A woman sitting several rows behind later told reporters that his hands started trembling. He tried to hold some papers his lawyer handed him, but they slipped from his fingers and fell to the floor. Everyone turned to look. The first clear warning sign was when Diddy jumped to his feet suddenly. It wasn't a casual move. It was sharp and loaded with tension. The bailiff, who had been watching him closely all morning, immediately moved in his direction. This wasn't the bailiff's first time seeing someone on the verge of losing control.
And weeks after the initial filing, Busby submitted an amended complaint naming Jay-Z as the celebrity who allegedly participated. They wanted copies of these videos for themselves. And I've talked to lawyers about this before. There's a big advantage to having the electronic video, the electronic evidence yourself, right? You don't have to always go over to the other office. You can view the materials on your own. It's a way to better prepare for your defense. And Sean Combs' lawyers argue that under the federal rules of criminal procedure, electronic data that is in the government's possession. Judge Subramanian denied the defense's motion to amend the protective order, but without prejudice, meaning this issue could be revisited. So Subramanian's order reads, quote, while the government objects to handing the videos over, they provide several options for a defendant to consider that would permit the defense to view the videos, access the information they're looking for, and even allow them to manipulate the videos.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So if she ever needs me, I'm going to be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters, and I just want to protect her, I don't want her to go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. Yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
Do you realize how important your story is? Every time I have a conversation with someone who's been through this unique type of experience, I'm searching for some kind of truth that can help.
I commend you for going there and asking the tough questions and the things that people don't want to talk about, and they don't want to go there because it's revealing, and I want people to take a look at my story, and hopefully my words can make a difference.
Just when everyone thought things couldn't get more intense, the prosecutor walked to the center of the courtroom holding a folder. Your Honor, she said, we'd like to present evidence that directly contradicts Mr. Combs's claim that Ms. Ventura fabricated these allegations. She pulled out her tablet and connected it to the courtroom display system. The screens around the room lit up with text messages between Justin Bieber and Cassie from 2017. The prosecution zoomed in on one exchange that made several jurors lean forward in their seats. Cassie had written, I don't know what to do anymore. He monitors everything. He said if I talk to anyone, he'll make sure I never work again. Bieber's response read, "This isn't normal, Cass. What he's doing isn't okay. You need to talk to someone who can help." The moment those messages appeared, Diddy shot up from his chair. The sound of it scraping across the floor made everyone jump. His face was bright red, his eyes bulging. The composed music mogul was gone. His attorney grabbed his arm, trying to pull him back down. "Sean, don't do this," he whispered, loud enough for the front rows to hear. But Diddy wasn't listening. He actually shoved his lawyer's hand away so hard the man stumbled backward. "This is all lies," Diddy shouted, pointing at Cassie. "You know damn well that's not what happened. Where's your loyalty? After everything I did for you," his voice got louder with each word, "you're making this all up, both of you." The judge immediately banged her gavel 3 times. "Mr. Combs, sit down immediately, or I will have you removed." Her voice cut through the chaos like a knife, but Diddy wasn't stopping. 2 security officers moved toward the defense table, fast. One positioned himself between Diddy and Cassie while the other approached from behind. Court reporters typed, frantically capturing every word of this unplanned meltdown. The jury watched in total shock. One older woman in the back row actually covered her mouth with her hand. A younger man in the front row leaned away from Diddy, physically distancing himself from the outburst. "Your Honor, we need a recess," Diddy's lawyer shouted, trying to regain control of the situation. But Diddy was already turning toward the evidence screen, pointing at the messages. "Those are fake! They fabricated those messages!" He was gesturing wildly now, his voice echoing off the walls. "This is a setup! Justin never said that!" The evidence was devastating to Diddy's case. These messages from 5 years ago completely contradicted his claim that Cassie made up allegations for money or fame. She had been confiding in Bieber about the exact same behavior patterns years. Before filing any lawsuit, the judge slammed her gavel again. "Remove the jury immediately." She ordered the bailiff. As the 12 men and women filed out, most of them couldn't help staring at Diddy, who was still standing and shouting. The security guards moved in, one on each side of him. "Sir, you need to calm down now," one said firmly, placing a hand on Diddy's shoulder. For a moment, it looked like Diddy might actually shove the officer too. Instead, he finally fell silent, breathing hard. As the reality of what just happened seemed to hit him, the damage was done.